When the fires of faith finally dimmed, the world didn't cheer, it sighed. The holy war that once promised salvation had left only ashes and questions no priest could answer. The Crusades were born from belief, but in the end, it wasn't God's voice that echoed across the battlefields. It was the sound of greed, betrayal, and fading glory. For nearly 2 centuries, Europe had bled in the name of the cross. Generations had marched east, convinced they were fighting for heaven. But as the 13th century dawned, the crusading dream began to rot from within. The kings who once rode with zeal now rode with accountants. Popes traded blessings for gold. And knights, those proud warriors of God, now sold their swords to whoever paid most. The holy flame that once lit their hearts had become a currency. When word spread that Jerusalem was lost again, no thunder rolled, no armies rose. Europe was tired. Tired of war, tired of famine, tired of the promises that never came true. For every city captured, 10 were lost. For every soul saved, 1,000 were broken. Still, they marched. But these were not the Crusaders of old. They were mercenaries draped in crosses. The Fourth Crusade proved it. Instead of heading for the Holy Land, they turned their blades on their own, sacking Constantinople, a Christian city, looting churches, and spilling the blood of fellow believers. The streets of Byzantium burned, not for faith, but for treasure. Gold chalices melted in fire, relics stolen, saints' bones scattered beneath soldiers' boots. And somewhere in that chaos, the last spark of divine purpose died. The Pope excommunicated them, but it didn't matter. The world saw what the Crusades had become. Not a holy mission, but a machine, grinding men into martyrs, faith into profit. And yet in the East, Islam stood united under Saladin's successors. Trade replaced war. Pilgrims still came and went to Jerusalem, now paying fees instead of shedding blood. Peace, strange and fragile, began to root itself where fire once raged. But Europe couldn't let go. There would be more crusades, 6, 7, 8, each one smaller, weaker, more desperate. Children were sent to fight. Yes, children. Tens of thousands, driven by faith and manipulation, walked barefoot across continents. Most never returned. Their bones became milestones on the road to nowhere. The Holy Land, once the beating heart of the crusading dream, now whispered only of loss. Every fallen knight, every forgotten vow was a reminder that even faith can burn too bright. But history isn't kind. It doesn't mourn. It moves on. Empires rose and fell. The banners of the cross and crescent both faded under time's weight. What remained wasn't victory or defeat. It was change. New roots, new knowledge, new ideas had crossed between worlds because of those wars. And though they came with blood, they also carried seeds of art, science, medicine, trade, seeds that would one day grow into the Renaissance. The Crusades ended not with peace, but with exhaustion. The world had learned what happens when men fight for heaven, but forget their humanity. When the last Crusader ship sailed home, the wind carried no hymns, only silence. A silence heavy with regret, and the ghosts of knights who once believed they were saving the world. Centuries later, we still remember them, not as heroes, not as villains, but as a warning that even the purest faith can become a fire that consumes everything if no one dares to ask why it burns. So when we speak of the Crusades, we're not just telling a story of war. we're telling the story of mankind's endless struggle between belief and reason, between devotion and greed. And maybe that's the real Holy Land we've been searching for all along. If you've followed this journey from the first spark to the final ember, thank you for walking through history's fire. More stories await, tales of kings, empires, and revolutions that shaped the world you live in today. So before you leave this battlefield, hit that subscribe button and march with us once more into the next legend.